group leadership can be also seen as coaching, because you are sort of coaching people. You're helping them improve, learn skills, empower them, helping a team become better as a group. So you are, in essence, coaching. And so this lecture is going to kind of look at some different models that are used in coaching in regards to discipline and other things like that. Some goals of coaching is to maximize strengths and minimize weaknesses, build on what they're good at, and not worry about their weaknesses so much. Developing relationships, those relationships of trust with your participants. Recognizing and praising, so important. People, if they don't get recognized for what they do right, they will stop doing what's right, and so you don't want that to happen. Coaching is not about blaming. It's also not about embarrassing. If people don't do well at something, you shouldn't be embarrassing them, because they're less likely to want to continue. And again, remember, the goal is to empower and to help them feel flow. And if you embarrass them, there's no way they're going to do either of those two things. But if you need to be firm in a disciplined form, that's different. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute here. Behavior focused instead of person focused. This is especially important with children. Let me explain. I have a 3-year-old, and he makes, bad choices all the time. He's a kid, he's little, he's a toddler. They call him terrible twos for a reason, and he's just barely moving out of those. So there's a lot of challenges that come our way, and he makes a lot of wrong decisions. Now, what would it be like if I walked up to him and said, "You're a bad kid"? That kind of behavior, or that kind of term, doesn't encourage him to do what's right. It doesn't encourage him to behave better, or to improve, or make good choices next time. In fact, it pretty much tells him he can't make good choices, because he is a bad kid, and bad kids don't make good choices. However, if I say, "Jack, you're making bad choices," that's different. He can easily change that. All he has to do is choose to do the right thing. So that's being behavior focused. Instead of saying they are something, they're behaving a certain way, and the behavior is changeable. The person itself isn't, if you tell them they are a certain way. If you're going to give them feedback in order to help them make an improvement, and make sure it's specific. Don't just say, "You need to be better in front of people." Maybe there's some specific part of it they need to improve upon. If we were in a group setting, we would actually have you practice how you would handle a kid who says, "This game is stupid." And you can often figure out why. Maybe there's usually a reason behind it. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe their dad was meeting them that morning, or maybe they're just not feeling well, or maybe they're feeling uncomfortable with the game. It's important to understand the why. So talk to them and figure out what the reason might be. When you're giving them feedback, make sure that you do it in a coaching manner. We'll do it, and we'll see what that coaching might be in a minute. But model the right behavior, train them on the right behavior, give feedback as soon as possible. Like I have a dog, and you can't discipline a dog hours after it's happened. They won't even know why they're in trouble. People are the same way. You need to be timely about it, or they maybe have had the time to justify their behavior in their own head, or it doesn't seem as important or as big a deal to them afterwards. So you need to be timely about it. Don't criticize, give feedback. Criticism is negative. It doesn't imply that you think they can improve, but feedback implies that you can give them, they can rise to the challenge, they can improve. And so you want that. That's kind of the same idea behind motivation. Criticism demotivates. Feedback motivates. So here's a good model to find here. Describe what you've been noticing. Tell them what you prefer. Ask them for a promise to change, and follow up on their behavior. Let's say you're doing this with a young child. "Tommy, I've noticed that you are grumpy today, and that you're not being nice to your friends, and you don't want to participate at all. I'm not sure why that is, but I really appreciate it if you would just, you don't have to play, but if you could just be a little more positive, and not be mean to your friends, I'd really appreciate it. Could you do that for me?" Have them then promise to change. And then if they do well, say, "Great job." Follow-up is so important. If Tommy does a good job and I don't recognize it, he's not going to do a good job in the future. If he does a bad job, then I need to help him improve again later. So that follow-up is very important. Modeling it, training them, especially if you're working with people that are important, just any kind of training is important. Like if you're working with lifeguards, you want to help them understand why it's so important, creating that interest in the activity. performing something slow so they understand how it should be done, explaining the steps as you go along. Have them perform the task, and then again, follow up. If it's done right, tell them. Tell them they're doing a good job so they know to keep it up. If they're doing what's wrong, then give them feedback so they know what to improve upon. That's another good order of events. This back here, by the way, this is called the coaching model for discipline. And especially if someone's acting up, this is a great order of events to follow. But then there's this is also very good for training. Criticism is bad, and I've already kind of covered this, but I just want to reiterate that criticism is not the way to help people improve. Feedback is. It doesn't make you want to improve. It makes you dislike the person. And if they dislike you, they're not going to perform. So you need them to like you. So you need to be able to help them feel motivated, not demotivated, which is what criticism does. When you're working with difficult people, again, you can use that coaching model. Tell them what you're seeing. Tell them what you'd like to see. Have them commit to change, because again, people want to rise up to the challenge, and then follow up. If they refuse to change, then you can consider using some forms of discipline. And that would be related to the after-school program if that was part of this lecture.